And let's begin with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Minnesota Vikings, an old NFC Central reunion game. Vikings at Bucs. After a week off, Peter, Brady and the Bucs will be what versus the Vikings?
Red hot, I think. I think that Brady comes back with a healthier receiving crew, probably since he's had all season, Mike. And to me, I think they're going to play really well. I think they're going to win that game by double digits.
I agree with you completely. The Vikings don't have the defense to pressure Brady up the middle. They don't have the secondary to cover Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Rob Gronkowski. And I don't think they have the running game to overcome a great Tampa Bay defense. And without the running game, all due respect to Dalvin Cook, but this is the best rush defense in the NFL that they are going to be facing. Without that running game, Kirk Cousins can't get it done. This is a bad spot for the Vikings, and this is where their incredible turnaround from 1-5 to 6-6 comes to an end, and the Bucs get to 8-5 and thrust themselves even deeper into the playoff conversation. And Bruce Arians said earlier this week, home field advantage doesn't matter this year because fans aren't going to be at the games. So it's just where you play it. You don't get that edge by having a home game, so the Bucs could be dangerous in the postseason on the road. Cardinals on the road at MetLife Stadium. 6-6 Arizona taking on the 5-7 Giants. A few weeks ago, this was an easy check the win column for the Cardinals. Now, it's not. And so, Peter, after frustrating Russell Wilson, the Giants defense will do what against Kyler Murray?
Build the exact same spider web around Kyler Murray that they built around Russell Wilson. You know, I talked to Leonard Williams of the Giants after the game the other day, and he talked about Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, and what a good job he does putting them in position, the way he put them in position to sort of surround and frustrate Russell Wilson. I think it'll be the exact same game plan with some tweaks, obviously, against Kyler Murray. And one other thing, Mike, every year, we probably talked about this earlier this year, but every year when the schedule comes out, this year it came out in early May, and every year you look at the schedule and you say, oh, they're just playing this team, this team, this team. We don't think about when the games are played. If the Arizona Cardinals had to take a trip to the Meadowlands on September 11th instead of December 13th or whatever the dates are, if they had to go there back in September, I mean, I think they would have won the game, perhaps handily. Now, I think it's, flip a coin for this game, but it really does depend when you face teams as you look at a schedule over the course of the season.
And just amazing to see the Giants in the thick of things this year after the struggles they had early in the season. But when you look back on their schedule, they weren't being embarrassed like other teams have been.
Right.
They played the Steelers much closer than the final score would suggest. They gave the Rams everything they could handle, but they have put it together, and they have a chance to get to 6-7. I just hope one of these NFC East teams at least gets to 500 to win the division. But, yeah, I agree with you. It's a coin flip game. A few weeks ago, it wouldn't have looked that way. The Cardinals have now lost 4 out of 5. They'd be on a 5-game losing streak, but for the Hail Murray. They need to avoid a 4-game losing streak since that miraculous play from last month against the Bills. Washington 5-7. 49ers 5-7. Washington tied for first place in the NFC East. They're technically in second because of the tiebreaker. They were swept by the Giants. 49ers still very much alive. They could still finish 9-7. They could still sneak into the postseason. And one of the things we've seen from them this year, when they have a bad game, they respond fairly well. So, Peter, after shocking the Steelers, Alex Smith and the Washington football team are what to you?
A totally mysterious team, but a team that easily could win the NFC East. And this game, you're right, Mike, this game is a totally fascinating game. I think it's the hardest game to read of this weekend because of how mercurial San Francisco is. But I will say this. I think this is a week that the 49ers will really miss George Kittle, because this is a week where Nick Mullins is not going to have the kind of time he has in a normal week to find his good receivers downfield. I think this is the kind of week that he gets pressured a lot, both from inside the Washington defensive front and from the edge as well. And so to me, I think this is a game where Nick Mullins is going to have to make some throws downfield that he'd much rather make to George Kittle in the intermediate part of the field.
And let's not forget, even though Trent Williams, now the 49ers left tackle, has buried the hatchet with Washington because they got rid of everybody who was there when Trent Williams had a bad experience, Kyle Shanahan, the coach of the 49ers, still takes a very high degree of delight in getting an opportunity to play and to beat Daniel Snyder's team. Remember last year when they won that game in Washington in a rainstorm, and it was old school, and it was mud, and it was water, and it was great. Game ball went to Mike Shanahan after the 49ers beat Washington. So maybe there'll be another game ball going to Mike Shanahan on Sunday if the 49ers pull it off. All right, the Packers going to Ford Field to take on the Lions. Green Bay 9-3, trying to get the 1 seed. If they can catch the Saints in the standings, Green Bay gets the 1 seed by virtue of a Week 3 victory over New Orleans. The Lions, after beating the Bears last week, somehow 5-7, they're not dead either. So, after pulling to within 1 game back of the number 7 seed, the Detroit Lions are what versus Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, Peter?
I don't know. Cooked geese? Is that fair to say? I mean, to me, I don't see how they're going to win this game, even in Detroit. And I don't think it's going to take the Hail Mary that it took several years ago, for Aaron Rodgers to have enough points in this game. It's all well and good for the Lions to be doing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, now that they got Darrell Bevell instead of Matt Patricia. But you still got to figure out 2 things. Who's covering Devontae Adams, and who's going to pressure Aaron Rodgers enough to make him make 3 or 4 mistakes to give you a chance to win. I don't think either are going to turn out well for Detroit.
The Lions have played the Packers well in Detroit, and they did get a lift last week when they somehow beat the Bears. And Darrell Bevell has a year with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't know that 1 year of experience with Aaron Rodgers is going to make a damn bit of difference other than to make Bevell realize what he's in for. And Bevell said that Rodgers currently is playing as well as any quarterback has ever played in the history of the National Football League. And you know what? He's right. And Sims can make the argument, even though he has made Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the NFL in his rankings this year, Sims is making a persuasive argument that Rodgers is the MVP, Peter. And when you think about it, Rodgers doesn't have the help around him that Patrick Mahomes does. And Rodgers is phenomenal this year. So I think there's something to be said for the possibility of Rodgers ultimately winning the MVP, especially if the Packers get the 1 seed. All right, the Jets, 0-12, going to Seattle to take on a Seahawks team that somehow found a way to lose to the Giants. Jamal Adams, former Jets safety, very anxious for this matchup. After nearly upsetting the Raiders, the Jets' chances of giving Seattle a fight on Sunday are what, Peter?
3.74%. Because I just think that they do.
Give me the under.
They don't have the ability to do to Russell Wilson what the New York Giants had. And I also think that Jamal Adams this Sunday is going to set the NFL record with 174 blitzes in a single football game. And that would be a record, wouldn't it, Mike? 174 blitzes in one game?
I think it would be.
I think Jamal Adams is going to set that record.
Yes. There would be many records set in the game if he's able to blitz 174 times. Peter, this is a horrible situation for the Jets, right? I mean, think about it. They had their shot to win. They lost in spectacular fashion, the defensive equivalent of the Miracle in the Meadowlands play, right, where you hand off instead of victory formation. I mean, you send everybody instead of guard the end zone. You can't recover from that and fly cross-country and muster the will to win against a team that just got caught napping by the Giants. Shaquille Griffin said yesterday they took the Giants lightly. Of course they did. They're not going to take the Jets lightly. The Jets are the raw meat thrown to the Lions, who forfeited their last meal. So this is just bad. This is the one game this weekend that I feel the strongest about. Seattle will win. I think Seattle will cover. Of course, that probably means the Jets will win straight up. But I'd be stunned if the Seahawks lose this game. There should be some sort of provision in the rules where if you have an embarrassing loss, consecutive embarrassing losses in December, whatever your record otherwise is, you don't get to go to the playoffs. I'm exaggerating, but if the Seahawks have no business in the postseason if they lose to both New York teams at home in consecutive weeks, Peter.
Not going to happen. But, Mike, you forgot the best Jets highlight of the week. The very, very great Jets highlight of the week. And do you know what that is? The Jets candidate for Walter Payton Man of the Year is a guy who they cut a month ago. There is nothing more Jets than making Pierre Desir the Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate when he hasn't been in your building for a month.
Yeah, that is something, and you would think there would be some procedure in place for an adjustment because that is the epitome of the Jets this season.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.